Hi, my name is Mandy Meservey. I am a senior mortgage consultant with Preferred Mortgage Assistance. This is our second video. We did a first video that explained the definitions of forbearance plans, modifications, and repayment plans. If you have not watched that one, it would be a good idea to do so that you can understand and know exactly where you're at within your modification process. What we are going to talk about today is red flag experiences. We have coined this term as things that you really need to be looking out for when you are working with your lender. These are situations that could actually hurt you versus helping you. So understanding where you're at with these are important as well. One of the first situations that we do consider a red flag situation is if your mortgage payment is rejected by your lender. If your lender is not going to accept your mortgage payment, this typically is a signal that your loan is being referred for foreclosure. That should give you an understanding of what your time frame is and how quickly you need to react to the situation. Also understanding what your next steps are from there. Another red flag situation is if you are advised that in order to be considered for a modification, you must be late, or you're advised not to make a payment at all. This is something that you need to address immediately. You're not allowed to tell people to not make their mortgage payment. Obviously, we know that that's really not a good idea. When it comes to modification, you need to understand what program you're qualified for first, and then what steps you need to do in order to get the modification. Don't just not make a mortgage payment and then submit paperwork. That doesn't make sense whatsoever. That could really put you in a bind. Also, if you're put into a forbearance plan before you're to be considered for a modification, this is something that, in my experience, have really got people in a lot of trouble. If your lender says, well, we'll put you on a 4-month forbearance plan and you're going to be making partial payments for those 4 months, and then we're going to put you into review for modification, be extremely leery before you accept any type of plans such as these. Even if you're late, a forbearance plan can make you late. Or if you're not late, I should say, a forbearance plan can make you late. I have had clients who were current on their mortgage. They got into a forbearance plan. 4 months later, they're now 4 months behind and they owe the bank $9,000 in order to become current, just trying to get a modification. At the time, they had no idea what they were qualified for. They were hoping that their lender was going to help, but in the end, they're now potentially looking at foreclosure. So that's something that you really need to be careful of and talk to somebody about what you are qualified for before you just go accepting these terms from your lender. If you are advised also that your investor does not do loan modifications, also take that as a red flag. There are certain investors that may not participate, so it could be true, but the majority of the time we have found out that they're incorrect. We have had lenders say, well, Fannie Mae doesn't participate or Freddie Mac doesn't participate, and that is extremely incorrect information, and therefore homeowners essentially just give up because they felt that their lender was being honest with them, and unfortunately it was misinformation, so you do need to look into it before you just take no for an answer. Also, if you are required to give cash contributions in order to qualify for a modification, this typically is a sign that something's not right as well. Dependent upon the program that you're qualified for and your current situation as well, the majority of the time cash contributions are not necessary in order to get a modification. Modifications are very specific when it comes to terms and things of that nature. If you're required to give lump sums of money, or they say, well, it's going to cost $1,500 for a modification, be very leery or be aware again of what you're qualified for before you just go giving money to your lender, because technically modifications don't cost anything. So you shouldn't be just giving your money away before you even understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Another thing is when you are in a situation where you're potentially looking at a foreclosure, you need to understand what judicial and non-judicial is, what states are judicial and non-judicial, what state you're in as well. Each state has their own foreclosure process, so it's important to understand your foreclosure laws in your state so that you do know what time frame you have. A non-judicial state can be scary if, for example, the state of Alabama. They typically start the foreclosure process at 30 days behind. They're non-judicial. At that point, you have to be very, very aware of what is actually going on, because you could potentially lose your home or have your home auctioned off and you do not even know it, because the bank does not have to go through the court system. Therefore, you're not informed of what your time frame is or what's actually happening. Versus a judicial state where you will receive list pendants, you will receive letters from magistrates, or potentially the sheriff's department will come and hand you sale dates, or letting you know that there has been an official complaint filed against you from your lender. That really does give people an understanding of where they're at. So those are important to know as you proceed through this as well.